Hi, Stephen. How are you?
Hi, David. I'm fine, thank you very much.
Good. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Stephen Collis. I'm the Assistant Discipline Lead for Pre-Reg Adult and Children's Nursing, based at Chesterfield campus. I'm also one of the senior lecturers at the Chesterfield campus for Pre-Reg Nursing and the Pre-Reg Nursing Placement Lead for both sites.
Okay. Can you tell us a bit about your career?
Yes, so I started as a staff nurse in medicine at Chesterfield Royal Hospital on a ward specialising in haematology, cardiology. I then went to work in coronary care as a staff nurse there. At the same time, I applied for a role as an associate lecturer at the Open University, teaching student nurses at Derby hospitals, and I did that for a couple of years, and then became a clinical skills teacher, resource officer, advanced life support instructor even, at Chesterfield Royal Hospital. So lots of different roles really there. But at that point, I was definitely missing that patient contact. So I went back and worked as a charge nurse on a short stay ward. And then with all those different experiences I had, I went and applied for a job as a clinical nurse specialist for home oxygen assessment, which was a brand new role. Yeah. There'd been some funding allocated, an admin assistant, lots of data given to the role. And it was just to go out there, talk to GPs, hospitals, and set up a whole new service for the North of Derbyshire. It was really exciting, a great role. Yeah, absolutely loved it. And I did that for a few years. The service is still running now, so that's great for me to know. But as I got sort of 3 years onto that role, I got talked into trying working as service improvement lead at Chesterfield Royal Hospital. Yeah. So going back in there, helping other services, setting up new services, helping to reconfigure services, and then became a senior clinical improvement and innovation manager, one of those titles that you can't put on your badge. But it was a great experience. But while I was doing that, I still remained clinical. I did bank shifts as site matron, hospital at night matron.
So what made you want to become a nurse in the first place?
Well, I suppose similar to a lot of people, it's their personal experience. My dad died when I was 14, which obviously very difficult at the time. But you know, even then, it was amazing seeing the care provided to him, not just from the hospitals, but the hospice particularly, from lots of different people. And it was that care and compassion, but more than that, it was that those technical skills, that competence, those people that were absolute specialists in what they did. And they made the life much easier for me, my sisters, my mum. And I knew at that point I wanted to sort of help and do something to work with people and help make people's life better. Didn't quite know what. So I did a degree in social policy because I knew I was interested in sort of health or social care. And then I was very lucky after that I was able to do a 2-year fast-track nursing programme to get a master's in nursing and to become an adult nurse.
Okay, that's an interesting route then.
My whole career's been just an interesting route. I'm still not quite sure what I want to do when I grow up yet, but you know, yeah. I'm getting there.
We don't have to think about that just yet, do we? So you obviously came into nursing with some experiences then, not just a sort of a straight through school route. So what experiences have you had that have helped you as a student nurse or as a nurse?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because when I started my nurse training, I was given the title of a mature student at the grand old age of 22. And I really wish I was that mature 22-year-old now, to be honest. But yes, I'd been working as a retail manager in a large retail store for a few years before and during my nurse training. I knew it wasn't where I wanted to be long term, but actually those skills really did help. And it's something you don't learn in a nursing journal, you don't learn in a lecture necessarily. It's those life skills of sort of dealing with people when they're angry, when they're upset, when they're complaining. It's about those communication skills. It's about managing a team and delegating, problem solving. Lots and lots and lots of skills that have been really helpful to me, both as a student nurse and even now, much later in my career. It did mean that I hadn't got any experience in care when I started my nurse training, which a lot of our students haven't. Yeah. And that made me feel at times a little bit disadvantaged. But really what it did is it made me work twice as hard. I needed to prove myself. I needed to make sure my patients were safe. So I spent lots and lots of time learning the very basics and fundamentals of nursing just to make sure I was able to perform.
Yeah, brilliant. So if you weren't a nurse, what would you be doing?
I'd definitely be working with animals. I know lots of people say that. And not just animals as in like nice little fluffy ones. I'm really interested in animal research and animal conservation. I would have done a degree in zoology, and that's definitely where I'd be. And I'm still tempted now to do it. But I know, absolutely loved it. I think because of my life experiences took me in a different way, made me want to help people because of the experiences I'd had. But no, I certainly would have done that. And as well as being a lecturer and a bank nurse, because I still do clinical shifts at hospitals, I've also got a contract as an assistant ecologist. So I do actually go out there and do bat surveys, newt surveys, like we all do at weekends. I get to keep my interest in there as well.
And there's probably something to be said about sort of being a zoologist and managing the numbers of students that we've got at the moment as well, but I'm probably not going to...
And some of the staff as well, but let's not say that while we're being recorded, David, yeah.
So other than newt surveys and bat surveys and things like that, have you got any other hobbies outside of work?
Performing arts. I'm not a good dancer, I'm not a good singer, I'm not a good actor, which means I'm perfect for amateur panto. And that's what I do. I do that every year. I'm in a pantomime group. The last performance we did earlier this year, we raised £9,000 for local charities. It's just phenomenal. But it means I get to get that frustrated actor out on stage, and I think I use a lot of that in my lectures. I'm sure the students would agree as well.
So, what's your guilty pleasure?
Lots of guilty pleasures. Well. Joe, it's an odd one actually. So when I saw this question that the students had sent in, I thought it was a really interesting question. I don't know if you've heard of the British comedy films, the Carry On films, that were famous many, many years ago, a bit before my time actually, but I remember when I was little, I always used to go and watch them after Sunday lunch. Me, my mum and dad would go and sit in the living room, they'd watch the film with me, they went to sleep on the sofa, and meant I could watch my film. And it's that naughty seaside humour that as nurses I think we've all got a bit of, and I absolutely love it. But the reason, and I started rewatching them actually, someone bought me the box set. But the reason I say a guilty pleasure is, watching them these many years later, I can't help cringing a little bit.
Yeah.
They're not politically correct. And there's lots of things I'm glad are dated and we've moved on from. But the reason it's a guilty pleasure is I do watch it still, get that sense of nostalgia, and I still do have a few chuckles.
That's brilliant. Well, thanks for answering those questions.
No worries.
Yeah, it's been really interesting chatting to you.
Good.
See you soon.
Nice to see you, David. And nice to see you all soon. Bye.
Bye.